Welcome, everyone, as we continue on with the Frank's motion. Thank you, Wolfram, for doing all of your Modly Mod stuff. Welcome, We Gobshite. Love the name. Derek, welcome. Welcome, Fun Diane. So, this is where we get kind of into the meat of okay, why the hell do we think Odinist did it? A lot of things are like it's an outlandish claim. I'm not going to lie. When I first saw it, I was like, okay, man, bear, pig. Sorry, I'm trying to see if I'm asking Jedi Jess, our local legalese expert, if it is at all possible that we can FOIA the click report that the defense mentioned before the case is done. I'm assuming that it's going to be sealed until the case comes to its conclusion. But this will give you kind of a primer about what Odinism is, what this, sect of whatever the heck you call them, Odinists, are kind of doing and how they kind of came across this. Now, the evidence that connects the Odinites to the murders with a footnote uh, marked as Exhibit 29, defense has provided an infographic highlighting parties discussed in this section. One second. I'm Jedi Jess is like, "What?" Because she's helping, all of us find legally stuff. So she's like, "What case are we talking about?" Um, but this what I will say about this motion is that it has a lot of general, information that does give credit and, a little bit of validity. What is Odinism? For Rick's defense team, it has been hard to gain a grasp on how exactly to define Odinism. A March 15th, 1998 article found in the winter issue of the Southern Poverty Law Center's Here in SPLCA Intelligent Report. That's an oxymoron. Look, you guys, personally, in my opinion, the Southern Poverty Law Center has become kind of like, oh my goodness, they go to church. It's unfortunately in the last couple years, everyone's been called an istinophobe, and it kind of does diminish when you have real rejects out there pretending to be Vikings and, doing crazy BS. So the Southern Poverty Law Center, not a fan, and them having an intelligent report, well, that's an oxymoron to me. Identified as, quote, the nation's preeminent periodical monitoring the radical right in the US, end quote. And this is what it said about Odinism in 1998. Thank you so much, Puddletown. I'm glowing because, oh my goodness, you guys, I got the wine advent calendar and I refuse to feel mom guilt, at least for right now. But I did. I did. I really did. I've been wanting one for years. So nightly newsy news will be boozy news. But, today is kind of a day where I was just like, doggone it, I'm gonna get it this year. A neo-pagan religion drawing on images of fiercely proud boar-hunting Norsemen and their pale-skinned Aryan womenfolk is increasingly taking root among, skinheads, hankety-clankety people, and other white supreme pizza groups across the nations. Or the nation. Astaro leaders have opened prison ministries in at least 5 states recently, with many jail followers heavily white supreme pizzas. A leading proselytizer imprisoned Terry, David Lane, has been writing prolifically and influencing many to adopt his interpretations. Welcome, Penny Williams. Bob Matthews, the late founder of the order of which Lane was a member, adopted a series of related beliefs. A Denver, bald guy neo kankety clankety guy who confessed to murder of a man because he was African American, bears an Astaro tattoo. Some key Astaro leaders have been known to neo, hankety clankety or anti Semitic backgrounds. Suddenly, says Phil Rodriguez, a gaining investigator with the Arizona State Prison System, Astaro's become the big fad. Astaro, an Icelandic word meaning belief in the Istar or gods, has been officially recognized as a religion in Iceland since 1972. And I do apologize to Iceland and Sweden and all of this. Corrupting some religion to give yourself license to be an absolute jackass because someone has more melanin in your skin or in their skin is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely. We have we all have 10 fingers, 10 toes. We all have 2 eyes, 1 mouth, and we should use our 2 ears to listen to other people instead of judge them right off because of how, they look. It's absolutely ridiculous. Oh, wow, fun dying. Until about a month ago, I could point out 2 houses that had red flags with rune on them and 1 Jeep with a tan top and a wheel cover with Odin's face. Yeah, I I realized last night, if certain people, unalived girls, allegedly Minecraft, speculatively, all speculation, maybe calling them brain dead, redneck, inbred, ridiculous human beings was probably not a good idea. But, someone needs to speak the truth. Someone needs to tell the truth about this case and about all of this stuff that's going on. We can shove it under the rug, but you still have people out there with ugly beliefs. And honest to goodness, you know, shining a light on these kind of beliefs, is sunlight is the best disinfectant. Like him or lump him. Oh gosh, what was his name? Dang it. He was a media producer. He gave Steven Crowder his chance. I can't remember what his name is, but he said sunlight was the best disinfectant. Further down in the article, the SPLC states the following: Odinism, which is closely related to Astaru, was much favored in, the Germany with the little painter guy, really, leading it. Uh, its Nordic Teutonic mythology was the bedrock belief for the key Third Reich leaders, and it was an integral part of initiation rites and cosmology of the elite Schutzstaffel, or SS, supervised by that young German painter network of, very bad camps. YouTube, please listen to me. I beg of you to give, you know, independent small channels the same license to read words without you dinging them as being, offensive, because having to make up words kind of takes away from the whole evil and, grossness of these particular thoughts. For the love of Cheetos. Decades later, Odinism also influenced George Lincoln Rockwell's American, hankety clankety party. In addition to white supremacy components that exist in Odinism, there seems to be an additional dark demonic component to Odinism. Now, I think they're talking about the twisted, mutated form that has come over here to America. At least if articles concerning Odinism, human sacrifice, and imagery found on the internet, coupled by imagery and language found on Brad Holder's Facebook page, are to be believed. As an example, the defense attaches Exhibits 30 through 34. Exhibits 30 and 31 were found on the internet. Exhibits 32, 33, 34 are different versions of the same image that Brad Holder posted on his Facebook page. As you can see, law enforcement wrote the words, "Painting by Brad Holder, Odin hanging from the World Tree" on Exhibit 34. This appears to be something that law enforcement would have used in a PowerPoint presentation. Additionally, Kevin Murphy, who was a state trooper that investigated the Odinist angle, said this about Odinism. Quote, "It seems to me to border on almost satanic type of worshiping, sacrificing. I couldn't really wrap my brain around it," end quote. 39, Murphy deposition, page 6, lines 13 through 16. There was emphasis added. He didn't like scream this, but they want the court to listen to this. Exhibit 30 is an image from a website on Odinism of a man hanging upside down from a tree. who has also been sliced in the neck with blood dripping on the ground. The man's arms are posed similarly to Abby's at the crime scene. This man's legs are also posed similarly to Abby's at the crime scene. His left leg is straight, his leg is bent at the knee, and the only difference is that the man's right leg is placed over the left leg, while Abby's right leg was posed under her left leg. Exhibit 31 is an image from a website on Odinism of a man wearing antlers, similar to the crude way in which the sticks were formed on Abby's head. Exhibit 31 also resembles the crime scene in that the man's left leg is straight while his right leg is bent at the knee and placed under his left leg, just like Abby was found. Footnote 40, the man's hands are not similar to the way Abby had been posed. Both exhibits 30 and 31 were found on the internet by Ryan Boucher during his internet research. 41. See Boucher affidavit. The defense included exhibits 32 and 33 in the event that the court might think something like, well, just because those images are available on the internet concerning Odinism has nothing to do with Brad Holder. Exhibits 32 and 33 are image that the defense located in the state's discovery. Both exhibits are the same thing, with Exhibit 33 being a close-up version. The image is a painting produced by the hands of Brad Holder. As the court can see, Brad Holder painted what the defense would call a very creepy serial killer-looking image of a naked man hanging from a tree. Holder's painting is similar in appearance to exhibits 30 and 31. Also, in Holder's self-made painting, you can see that just like Abby, the hanging man's right leg is bent at the knee, angled toward the man's straight left leg. Again, an overly inquisitive man down in Georgia, Ryan Boucher, began piecing all this together without even having the benefit of crime scene photos. Yet, Unified Command, with the benefit of crime scene photos, apparently either incompetently or intentionally failed to piece these together or piece these images that would have caused any curious investigator to continue pursuing Brad Holder as a suspect. Ryan Boucher's curiosity led him to continue research into runes and Odinism. Boucher's research led to an article that is a primer for Odinistic sacrifice. The defense has attached this article by Daniel Bray entitled Sacrifice and Sacrificial Ideology in Old Norse Religion. I will look up that article to read tomorrow. Got my handy dandy giant Post-it pad. So his Daniel Bray. Okay, so that works. I will try to look that one up and see if we can get more in. I don't know anything about Odinism other than what I've seen in the, you know, on this case in the Franks motion. So this might give us more of an idea as to why the defense kind of thought about this. Within Bray's article, he discussed the history of human sacrifice to Odin that exists in pagan Norse religion. Unified Command claims that Odinism was ruled out early because of the findings of a Purdue professor. However, Unified Command now claims that it can't remember the name of the Purdue professor. God, the state sucks. I mean, don't lie. Again, if you feel like you have an airtight case, you have all of these confessions, and there are people out there that will still believe the confessions. And everyone has to make their own choices on what they believe, just like, the jury. And I don't mind people that disagree, but this blatant, hiding the ball, taking, cards off the table that the defense doesn't know, this doesn't show a sign of a strong case. This shows a sign of people trying to, in my opinion only, cover up the fact that they sucked out loud on this investigation. Early in the investigation, one of the investigators viewing the crime scene thought it might be the work of Odinism or Odinists practicing Odinism. 43. Holman deposition page 63, lines 7 through 20. Also see page 64, lines 19 through 25. So they are not getting this out of thin air. Unified Command's Jerry Holman has forgotten which investigator it was. 44. Holman Deposition 63, lines 7 through 10. You know, for an investigator, you miss a lot and you forget a lot, Mr. Holman. Early in the investigation, based on the thought that Odinism may explain how the bodies were found and how the sticks were arranged on top of the girls, Unified Command sought out an expert. 45. Holman Deposition, page 63, line 7 through 20, also page 64, line 9 through 25. According to Holman, Sergeant Steve Buckley of the Indiana State Police was in charge of locating an expert. Again, Holman Deposition, page 20 or 62, lines 7 through 20. Allegedly, the expert that Sergeant Buckley found was from Purdue. 48 deposition, or Holman Deposition, page 62, lines 7 through 22. According to Holman, Holman doesn't know the Purdue professor's background, but, quote, but he studies that Norwegian Nordic culture that Odinism is, end quote, 49, Holman Deposition, page 65, lines 6 through 8. Holman admitted that Holman, has never talked to the Purdue professor. You are supposed to be the lead investigator, you absolute dingbat. What are you doing? I mean, absolutely ridiculous. No one knows what's going on in this investigation. Oh, well, someone from Purdue. I mean, this is like talking to my kids when I ask them who ate the last cookie, and they're like, I don't know. We are going to, interrogate ourselves and come back to you with no one. This is infuriating. These are two girls that lost their lives, and you guys did 10% of a half-assed job. Sorry, I'm getting a little irritated. I forgot how irritated I get with this whole stuff. I hate to see how blasé, how flippant, how not curious, how they just sat on things for years. It's absolutely ridiculous. They we would gave So here's where my anger comes from. As an Indiana citizen, I had trust in Unified Command. I thought for sure that they were working hard. I know every year that passed, grizzled state cop would come out and say, "We're doing our darndest." And I believed them. I believed that they were working like hell to get justice for these 2 little girls. These 2 little girls that probably heard people walking by and couldn't shout out for help, or were taken somewhere or something, but something terrible happened to them. And I thought they were going to be doing their jobs. I thought that they were going to be finding the monster. But instead, we have a guy from CVS who, has a tenuous link, depending on if you believe the defense, metallologist guy or toolmark guy, a tenuous at best link to this with no physical evidence. And you're telling me that you had all of this information and no one, you ignored those that were intellectually curious? You know, Sometimes I'm wrong, and I have to, pull my big girl panties on up and tell people, "You know what? I made a mistake. Let's listen to some smart people." But apparently this was not happening in Unified Command. Rant over. Sorry about that. It just bothers the ever living snot out of me that these 2 little girls were, instead of finding justice, uh it looks like just a cluster F. Yeah, seems like the case, sadly and unfortunately. I wish it were so much different. According to Holman, the professor was, quote, out of the country at the time, and we did not release the video or the photos, but released a sketch of the sticks and how they were laid and some other. So they didn't even have this professor look at the actual crime scene photos. They made like a stick figure fucking draw. Excuse me. I was up late last night. So they took like a freaking crown paper to a damn professor and said, Look at this. This look like normalness." I mean, what in the actual, shenanigans is going on here? It really is absolutely undefinable and unconscionable that they had no intellectual curiosity. Having reviewed everything, the professor concluded that, quote, Odinism Or no, it was not Odinism or any kind of cult worshiping or any type of group that would have conducted the crime, end quote. However, Jerry Holman told a different story to Trooper Roland Purdy concerning the conclusions of the Purdue professor. 53. Holman deposition, page 63, lines 10 through 20. Trooper Purdy began assisting with the investigation in March 2017. Purdy deposition, page 26, lines 10 through 25. However, the first time Purdy ever heard the word Odin or Odinite was at least May or June of 2017. Again, Purdy deposition, page 24, lines 12 through 16. It's important to note that the first time the trooper heard the word Odin or Odinite wasn't even through the Unified Command or any other law enforcement officer, but rather through Becky Patty, who is Liberty German's grandmother. Purdy deposition, page 24, lines 17 through 20. Becky Patty, while talking to Trooper Purdy, informed Purdy that Abby Williams had dated Holder's son Logan, and Logan's dad was an Odinist named Brad Holder. God bless it. They knew about this like months after. Months after. And you know what? If they had done a full and complete and fulsome, investigation into these guys who pretend they're Vikings and nothing came up, I wouldn't be so ticked off. But they absolutely suppressed this. They absolutely looked the other way. And it's just flippin' ridiculous. This information interested Purdy, who then talked to Holman. Holman told Purdy they'd already run the stick formations in Odin Angle through a Purdue professor. 58. Purdy deposition, page 26, lines 15 through 25, and page 23, lines 1 through 17. Holman told Purdy that the results from the Purdue professor were, quote, kind of inconclusive, end quote, 59. Purdy deposition, page 26, lines 19 through 25. Purdy also believes he was provided a copy of what the Purdue University had provided them. Page 60 of the Purdy deposition, Purdy deposition, page 28, lines 10 through 11. Purdy also, upon previewing that Purdue report, according to Purdy, the Odinite angle was not dead. 61, Purdy deposition, page 28, lines 10 through 19. In other words, Holman did not underline, tell Purdy that, and the report did not claim that the Purdue conclusions were that, quote, it was not Odinism or any type of cult worshiping or any group that would have conducted the crime, end quote. Holman had told one story to Purdy and yet another story under oath in a deposition as to what the Purdue professor's conclusions concerning Odinism and involvement in the murders was. The difference between concluding that Odinists and the cults did not commit the murders versus the evidence is inconclusive as to whether Odinists were involved in the murders is significant. In the first instance, such a conclusion could theoretically explain why law enforcement stopped pursuing the Odinite angle. In the second instance, law enforcement would presumably continue to pursue the Odinite cult angle based on the stick formations, girl's body positioning, and the F painted in Libby's blood on the tree, as well as other strong evidence supporting an orchestrated abduction and ritualistic unaliving of the girls. 62. This evidence will be discussed later, but primarily involves social media posts on Brad Polder's Facebook page and witness statements found on a 12-page report that the defense has dubbed the Odin Report. It is very telling that Trooper Purdy began working as an investigator on the case for at least 2 months, March through May in 2017, before ever hearing the word Odin or Odinite. This fact is evidence that the Odinite angle was abandoned before Purdy became involved in the investigation on March 2017. So February, March. The girls were unalived in February on the 13th or 14th, depending on, well, we just don't know. With all the evidence that's coming out, I don't know what to think about when they passed away or where they passed away. But basically, by March, they were like, "Nah, we're looking for one dude. We're looking for one guy." This is absolutely malfeasance. Malfeasance in the greatest sense. This point cannot be emphasized enough. The Odinite angle was abandoned by March 2017, only a few weeks after the girls were murdered. The reason for this abandonment, a Purdue professor had reached a conclusion concerning Odinism and a crime scene. I didn't stay up as late. I had to tap out. Hagatha, the gimpy leg, was being a total butt monkey. I was supposed to go on Dave's, but I had to tap out. I was done. So I tapped out about 10. Of course, Holman tells another thing under oath about the conclusion. Odinisms and cults were not involved in the murder. And another thing to Purdy, the results were inconclusive. A report may or may not exist that does not rule out Odinism. The best thing to do, figure out which version of Holman's story to believe. If either is to go straight to the source, the Purdue professor, and or read the report that the professor prepared. The problem is that as of the filing of this document, the defense has been told that Unified Command cannot identify the professor. Therefore, they can't locate the professor, and in the end, they may never be able to identify this mystery professor. 63. Prosecutor Nick McClelland informed the defense of this development on September 6, 2023, in an email. Purdue is a big school, but it's not huge enormous. I'm sure that there's only one professor there that, studies Nordic psych or, sociology or Nordic, studies. Pretty sure we could find them. Indiana's not huge. We don't have like a giant colony of Nordic scholars, although that would be really cool. Presumably, additionally, the prosecution has not provided the defense with any Purdue report. Presumably, um, butt cheek sounds good. I was gonna say tramp stamp, but 45, then you've got a black hole and then you've got 47. I think it's symbolic, Brandon. I would go with that. The only conclusion is that the Purdue report is missing, just as the author of the report is also missing. It is unknown if Detective Holman is currently searching for the mystery professor. If so, he will probably never be found because of the incompetence surrounding this investigation and the complete inability to conduct a comprehensive review of all facts and circumstances pointing to the involvement of multiple actors in this crime. Burn. Someone call the burn unit. He just called him a bumbling, stupid boob. To summarize, the crime scene is chock full of signs of cult involvement. At least one law enforcement officer believed that the cult involved may be Odinites. Therefore, very early in the investigation, Unified Command's claims to have found an expert from Purdue. This expert from Purdue, according to sworn testimony of Jerry Holman, dismisses Odinism and cultism being involved. Investigators move on from Odinism to the degree that when Trooper Purdy got involved in the investigation in March 2017, Purdy, had never heard the words Odinism or Odinite entered or uttered by anyone in Unified Command. Rather, Purdy hears Odinism for the first time in May or June from a fact witness, Becky Patty. Now, this mystery professor can't be found. Two young girls were brutally murdered, and an innocent man sits in Westville being mentally abused by Odinite guards. And Detective Holman can't even identify the Purdue professor that caused the abandonment. Of the likely source of the murders. It's difficult to put into words the level of incompetence, or worse, the level of intentionality on display. It would be utterly laughable if the consequences of this dereliction of duty didn't involve life and death, the life of Richard Allen and the deaths of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. These are the facts that greatly undermine the credibility of the entire investigation and are an embarrassment to the greater law enforcement community. As stated previously, when determining whether a Franks hearing should be granted, the court will determine whether the actions of Tony Liggett, alleged by the defense, were intentional or reckless. Surely a missing Purdue professor and a missing report would qualify as either intentional or extremely reckless conduct. Lucky for Richard Allen, Detective Murphy was thorough and organized enough to document in great detail his findings on the Odin angle of the investigation. Enter the Odin report. It seems only prudent that the court review this report in its entirety before reading the remainder of this memorandum. The 12-page Odin report. As part of discovery, defense has received a 12-page Word document uh, that provided a summary of Trooper Kevin Murphy's investigation of the Odinite angle. Over time, for reference purposes, the defense has come to call this document the Odin report. Therefore, to clearly reference this document throughout the rest of the memo, the defense will use the moniker quote unquote Odin report. When discussing this report, the Odin report was created by Indiana State Trooper Kevin Murphy, who thankfully was independently curious. Unified Command through Liggett and Hammond had concluded by March 2017 that Brad Holder should be cleared as a suspect, as will be detailed later. Further, Unified Command claimed that it concluded very early, probably March 2017, that Odinites were not involved, as discussed earlier. Despite Liggett and Holman clearing Holder as a suspect in March of 2017, and despite a mystery professor, Purdue professor, dismissing all links between Odinism and the murders, Murphy pressed on. Murphy began investigating a man named Elvis Fields down in Rushville, Indiana, 126 miles away. The fruits of this investigation ultimately boomeranged Murphy as well as law enforcement officers Greg Ferenczi and Todd Click back to Brad Holder and therefore back to Odinism. Murphy, Ferenczi, and Todd Click's dogged pursuit of the truth is what we citizens and those accused of crimes should expect of law enforcement. These honorable law enforcement officers were knocking on doors and conducting interviews, going where the evidence led them. Immediately following an interview, Murphy would reduce key aspects of that interview into a Word document. Over time, the Odin report grew from a single page from his interview with Mary Jacobs to 12 pages, with the last pages used for summing up all his thoughts from all the interviews he conducted. The defense has attached this document to the memoranda and marked it as Exhibit 36. Surprisingly to Murphy, even though he was handing over to Unified Command powerful evidence that really painted a clear picture of who was involved in the murders, Holman and Liggett did not seem interested. Eventually, Murphy said Unified Command phased out the Odinite Rush County angle. 64, Murphy deposition, page 11, lines 1 through 25. Murphy, figured this phasing out was due to Unified Command knowing things that Murphy, did not know, that eliminated the Odinism angle. Murphy further stated, I kind of took marching orders and just did what I was told and went where I was needed. 65, Murphy deposition, page 11, lines 16 through 22. In other words, Murphy trusted that Unified Command was doing the right thing. Defense would encourage the court to stop and review this document before continuing to read the memoranda, as the Odin report will be discussed over the next several pages. Now, I do not have access to the Odin report. I believe it is sealed, just like the, a bunch of other stuff in this case, until, the adjudication either way in this case. But I want to look at that so much because there has to be just a bunch of stuff in there. Who is Brad Holder? Who is Patrick Westfall? Who is Johnny Messer? Who is Elvis Fields? And who is Rob Abrams? And why does the evidence strongly support or point toward these men as having been involved in the murder of Abby and Libby? The Odin report provides much of the information. However, the report is not the only source of evidence provided by the state of Indiana that links these men to the murders. The investigative fingerprints of Todd Click and the late Greg Ferenczi are predominantly peppered through the Odin report as well. Click also prepared a roughly 85-page report and delivered it to Unified Command. However, the defense did not receive this document until September 8th, 2023. Pretty well, we have a cat named Loki, so I was like, "Oh crap, where's the cat?" No. No. I don't have time to figure out a new religion. I'm a I'm a terrible Christian, I kind of, semi good during Advent and, Lent, but I'm just a human. I can't imagine, having the responsibility of everyone worshiping me. That just sounds exhausting. Like, leave me alone. I'm your cult leader, but I don't want to know like all this stuff unless I ask you, and then we can talk for hours. But, however, so nearly 10 months after the defense counsel entered their appearance. So again, Prosecutor McClelland sat on this letter for 10 months. They were trying to keep the defense from sniffing around the Odinism angle. Now, this is, of course, my sort of shading on it, my lens through, and I am admittedly biased toward Richard Allen. But even from an objective standpoint, I do believe that this looks really bad. This looks bad on the state because they held this back thinking that Richard Allen was going to get, overworked, exhausted, and uncaring lawyers to cover his case and, probably encourage him to plea, probably not fight for him. They were, in my opinion, banking on this, but it also doesn't look good. Let's see. Defense will not show that Liggett and the rest of Unified Command knew but refused to act. This information is also what Liggett concealed from Judge Diner. The defense will include evidence that links these men to the crime scene and to each other, including the intimate knowledge that these men had of the crime scene that only someone who has been at the crime scene would know. Brad Holder's connections to the crime scene. Brad Holder's son, Logan Holder, was dating Abby Williams at the time of the murders. Nobody denies this fact. Amber Holder, for example, it discusses this fact on page 9 of the Odin report. Exhibit 27 is a document memorializing the only known interview of Brad Holder concerning the Delphi murders, at least through August 30th, 2023. In that document, it is learned that Brad Holder details that he was usually in Delphi every weekend, visiting his friend Patrick Westfall and attending Astaro religious ceremonies at Patrick Westfall's house, usually on Sundays. Astaro is interchangeable with Odinism, 66. In a report labeled all these letters and numbers, Patrick Westfall described how to law enforcement that Astaru was a warrior type religion with many gods, including Odin and Thor. This report was marked as Exhibit 39. Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder have been friends prior to the murder of Abby and Libby. In fact, Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder were found in a photograph together as late as January 21st, 2017. Find attached copy of said photograph to mark as Exhibit 38. Murphy noted on page 11 of the Odin report that Westfall appears 10 times in pictures that Holder posts on Facebook prior to February 13th, 2017. However, after February 13th, 2017, Westfall does not appear in any of Holder's post photos. What happened to the friendship of Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall? Amber Holder tells a disturbing story. As can be viewed on page 9 of the Odin report, Amber told law enforcement the following. Amber said Brad spoke of Patrick one time when he was intoxicated and said he and Patrick got into a fight. They no longer speak to each other. He told her that he and Westfall were in the woods near a river conducting a ritual. One of them said or did something that the other did not agree with, and they no longer talk with each other. She said the river was near Patrick's house. Note, Brad has a Facebook post with him and Patrick together on January 21st, 2021. Patrick Westfall was living in Delphi at so and so street, Delphi at the time. Find attached, marked as Exhibit 39, filed as confidential. So they're giving their um, his locality towards close to the crime scene. I believe he did not live far from Monon Trail. Now, again, just to remind you guys, all of the people mentioned in here in the defense motion are innocent and, proven until proven guilty. They are not on trial. Unfortunately, Richard Allen is. But, Don't go out and harass him, not that I think you would, but, general YouTubey sort of, anti-liability things. Do not harass Brad, do not harass Patrick, do not harass any of these people. You know, God's mill grinds slowly but relentlessly. So, hopefully we can get some fresh eyes on this case and get the FBI back in here. This document is the narrative report of what is believed to be the only police interview conducted on Patrick Westfall, 67. Just like Holder's videotaped interview, as of the date of filing this memoranda, the prosecutor still has not turned over the Westfall videotaped interview. Defense only has a narrative that allegedly memorializes Westfall's interview. Now, cut to the chase. The state, well, they recorded over the only two investigation or interrogations or interviews that these 2 had. What a coinky dink. They interviewed them about 3 days after, the murder and, well, gosh darn, we just, went over, the defense did try to get the mistrial for a Brady violation, but Judge Gold said that it was unintentional, Sarah Boone style, and did not let that be a mistrial. We're not shocked, right? The address where Westfall was living at the time was 3.1 miles, or roughly a 7-minute drive to the cemetery, which is the closest entry point to where the girls were unalived. 68. Find attached copy of Google Maps showing pins dropped at Westfall's address and then close to where the girls were found, marked as Exhibit 40, filed confidential. Okie dokie. Where? All right. Sorry, I've lost my place. Oh, there we go. As we know from Exhibit 37 attached to the memorandum, Brad Holder admitted that Holder spent every weekend hanging out with his friend Patrick Westfall in Delphi and participated in Astaru religious ceremonies on Sunday with Patrick Westfall. The girls were abducted on Monday, February  13th, 2017. Patrick Westfall appeared to no longer be friends, uh, with Brad Holder after February 13th, 2017. The defense is unaware as to whether law enforcement were even mildly curious enough to seek Brad Holder or Westfall out to ask them about the explosive information Amber told the police about an argument over a ritual gone bad in the woods sometime in February 2017. A ritual went bad in the woods, and the cops are like, "Nothing to see here. Move on along." I mean, even if this is if you are listening to me thinking this is the biggest pile of poo in the entire world, well, prove me wrong. Go investigate these people. Go check their alibis, go do all that, and then say, "Nope, they couldn't have done it. It's totally Richard Allen." But they didn't do that. They just looked around like Mr. Magoo and Stevie Wonder. Oh, let's see here. Additionally, Richard Allen's defense team is unaware whether law enforcement sought a search warrant for Brad Holder or Patrick's home. Amber Holder tells a second, equally disturbing story. When interviewed a second time, Amber discussed another conversation Amber, had with Brad Holder. She had gone to Brad Holder's house to visit him. While the children were upstairs, Amber, inquired about Patrick Westfall under the ruse that Amber's girlfriend had a date with Patrick. This is what is contained on page 10 of the Odin report. Quote, Brad became very nervous and told her she needed to stay away from Westfall or she would end up dead. She said that Brad told her that that Westfall and his crew responsible for the murders and the girls in Delphi and a fire that killed 2 other girls. She asked if she knew of the fires in Flora that killed 4 girls, and she said she was not familiar with any fires that killed any children until Brad mentioned it today. She said Brad may have been talking about the fire, but the number killed were wrong. She said Brad told her that Westfall and his quote unquote crew had friends in several states and had no problem killing quote unquote race traitors. I asked her to clarify race traitor, and she said she believed it meant when white people, date people outside their race. because that's important. What the hell, people? Let it go. Let it go. Maybe our children can go in the sun. I'm not joking. My middle daughter, I have, the palest skin ever, and then, her dad is Scottish, Irish mix, and I'm like, "Sweetheart, please, please marry someone from the Mediterranean so my grandchildren can have, the joy of having 100-watt bulbs." Not that I care if she comes home with, another pale guy, we'll just stock up on suntan lotion or on sunblock. Amber said that Brad told her that Westfall belonged to a group called the Vinlanders and 22. Brad told her that Westfall had many people backing him up and powerful friends. She said that Brad was very nervous while telling her some of these things and was whispering like he was fearful someone else could hear him. She said that throughout the conversation, Brad was constantly telling her to stay away from Westfall. He also told her that Patrick had unalived a lot of people and it didn't matter if they were innocent or not. Amber truly believes Brad is scared of Westfall. Prior to Amber leaving, she said Brad told her to stay off of Westfall's radar, and I can only protect you so much if you keep asking questions. He also told her that if Westfall found out she was married to him, she would be in danger. Brad also questioned her on why Westfall would be going on a quote unquote date. He was under the impression that Westfall was married or engaged to someone. Imagine being an investigator trying to solve a horrible murder and having learned all this information. What would a good investigator do? What would good leadership in the form of unified command do with this information? We would ask the court to think about all the tools that law enforcement had in its arsenal to pursue an investigation once these explosive stories were told. It doesn't appear that Unified Command did anything. The question then may be, did they, including Liggett, want to do anything to investigate the Odinites? Was Unified Command and Tony Liggett, a member of Unified Command, acting intentionally or recklessly in a way it conducted the investigation? And by extension, was Liggett acting intentionally or recklessly when concealing this information from Diner in his affidavit for a search warrant? What else linked Holder to the crime? On April 7th, 2017, Holder posted a photo of a hand marked with the exact wound found on Abby's body. Attached and marked as Exhibit 41 is a Facebook post that displays Holder's hand. The photo displays Holder showing off a rune that was inked onto his hand, not a tattoo, but likely from an ink pen. This rune that Brad Holder is proudly showing off is the same rune that the killers laid on Abby's body using sticks. This image was posted by Brad Holder approximately 52 days after the murders. The public had no idea what the crime scene looked like and that Abby had sticks placed on her body like a Hagel rune. Yet Brad Holder coincidentally was showing off the same rune that was found on Abby. That could be important information for curious, honest, well-intentioned law enforcement officers. Okay, the shade in here is real, and you can feel the palatable frustration that Unified Command completely ignored this. But the shade is also very real, and I can see why Judge Gold was like automatically no, just because they were. Ooh, now I really want Chinese. Maybe I'll take Mr. Mo to or we'll order Chinese tonight. Oh, that's awesome. Let's see here. Honest Trooper Murphy admitted that the image of the rune drawn on Holder's hand was similar in appearance to the rune found on Abby's body. 69, Murphy deposition, page 29, lines 16 through 25, and page 30, lines 1 through 12. Find attached a side-by-side image of the rune that Brad Holder drew on his hand next to Abby's crime scene photograph, marked as Exhibit 42 and filed as confidential. Trooper Holman, on the other hand, refused to admit that the two images on Exhibit 42 look similar. Quote, I mean, it's a stretch. You could say that's the exact same formation, end quote, is what Holman said when comparing the two. 70, Holman's deposition, page 229, lines 15 through 25, and page 230, lines 1 through 5. By admitting these images match or look like each other, Holman would then have to be admitting that Holder should have been a suspect because the rune on his, Holder's hand, matched the rune found on Abby's body when the details of the crime scene were not known to the public. This is why honest cop Murphy admitted the obvious that the two images looked alike. But Holman refuses to admit the obvious. Holman has hitched his wagon to Richard Allen's guilt and can't consider any other candidate and certainly can't concede that Unified Command's investigation has been a shameful embarrassment. Again, someone call the burn unit. Therefore, Holman has to continue the charade of proclaiming that two images contained in Exhibit 42 do not look similar, whether he actually believes it or not. However, while Holman cannot admit that the two images on Exhibit 42 look like one another, he, Holman, is the same person that claimed that only quote unquote minor differences existed between Sketch 1 and Sketch 2. I want you guys to remember this. I'm going to pull up. All right, I'm pulling up the multitudinous sketches that we got. Or at least these two. Let me. All right. So Holman says, would you show the damn pictures, you jackasses? Sorry. Oh, for the love of Cheetos. Visit. Let's see if you actually have the daggone picture up. No, I don't want a video. All right. Let's share this. All right. So Holman says that these two sketches are, fairly similar. Fairly similar, match, Richard Allen. Now, I could say that the first one does kind of match Richard Allen, not gonna lie. That's the s So here's the problem with the July one. To my recollection, and I have to double check, but I'm fairly sure, take it with a mild grain of salt, that the July 2017 sketch came from someone who saw the man walking down the street, muddy and or bloody, depending on who you believe, whose testimony you believe. So Holman is sitting here and, under oath saying that these two sketches are fairly alike. Now, what it does look like to me is that these could be father son. But the April 2019 sketch came from someone who saw the man on the bridge. She got a very good look at him. So you have someone driving by at 30 miles per hour for the July 2017 one, and you've got someone who was walking next to him and oddly, talked a lot about his eyes and how beautiful their eyes were. I'll have to look at the notes. I know it was some witness, but she basically just went on and on about his eyes. So, yes, you heard that right. There are only minor differences between Sketch 1 and Sketch 2. As you'll learn further in the memoranda, Sarah Carball claims to have observed the man walking down the road with mud on his clothing around 3:57 p.m. on the day of the murders. The man she observed turned into Sketch 1, so she is driving by at 30 to 40 miles per hour, but they got that sketch from her. According to Holman, Sketch 1 is the killer, Richard Allen, 71, Holman deposition pages 114, 14 through 25. You will learn later in the memoranda that Betsy Blair observed a man on a high bridge around 2 p.m. The man she observed turned into Sketch 2. According to Holman, this is also the killer, Richard Allen. Holman deposition page 115, lines 15 through 25. Later, you will learn that for Liggett and Holman's timeline to work, Sketch 1 and Sketch 2 need to represent the exact same person. Welcome, welcome, and welcome everyone who's joined as I've been reading. It's a little harder to keep up with the chat when I'm reading, or at least reading legally stuff. I can do newsy stuff, but legally stuff, I'm like, must think, must say the right thing. Sketch 1 is attached as Exhibit 105 and Sketch 2 is attached as Exhibit 103. We would ask you, Judge, to take those exhibits out and please look at them. Those two exhibits, according to Holman, are the same person, Richard Allen, and they need to be the same person in order to support Holman's timeline. Yet Holman will not admit the obvious that the men represented in these sketches look nothing like each other, nor like Richard Allen. Okay, that's a stretch a little bit defense. I could sort of see it in the first one. I'm going to give you guys that. Needing them to be the same man, Holman testified under oath that only minor differences existed between sketch 1 and sketch 2. Again, sketch 1, sketch 2, minor differences. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I shall attempt, good sir, but not today. I still stayed up past my bedtime, so I am quite tired, to be honest, which is bad. Yeah, pretty much. So, when I say that I don't believe that Richard Allen is the killer, these are the facts that I look at. I look at you have a police officer that is refusing to admit the obvious. You have dedicated officers who took their time to do a report, and even if they thought it was a bologna sandwich report, they should have followed up on it. Even if they thought it was 100% grade A, bull caca, they still should have, you know, looked at this angle, and they didn't. And why? You don't want conspiracy theories out there, Mr. McClelland. I would suggest that you had unified command actually investigate this stuff, but you didn't. None of you did. And you tried to hide it from the defense, whether through intentionality or slow rolling your discovery jumps. That's not the way you win a trial. That's not the way, you do these things if you have a solid case. And in my opinion, your greatest sin is that you are costing these girls justice because when and if we ever find the people that are actually involved in this, there's going to be a reasonable doubt because you already charged Richard Allen. All their defense attorneys are gonna need to do is say, "Well, you already charged Richard Allen, why are you charging this guy? You thought it was Richard Allen." I do not know, I will have to figure that out. Sorry, I thought I heard a dog bark in the house. I will tell you guys as a mom of 6, when, the house goes quiet, you get a little anxious, like, "What the hell is burning and what are they doing?" And please, dear God, don't let any of them be playing with the suitcase and hide and seek. So I still have, what is it? Quiet, trauma. I have all the seasons, I do. In fact, I have a small gift or goal gift that I've set up. If I get to 5,000, there is an anniversary collector's edition of all of the Sailor Moon manga that are coming out. So that's my goal gift, but it's not important. Again, do I need more cradoodle in my house? Probably not if you ask Mr. Mo, but I don't ask Mr. Mo when I buy stuff, which is kind of the problem. But I use my fund money, so he really can't say anything. Later, you will learn for Liggett's and Holman's timeline to work, sketch 1 and sketch 2 need. Okay, wait a minute, sorry. This is how entrenched Holman is in his position that Richard Allen is guilty. He can't even admit to the obvious. To further demonstrate the ridiculousness of Holman's alleged belief that, except for quote unquote minor differences, sketch 1 and sketch 2 will look alike, let's look at what Toby Lesenby said about sketch 1 and sketch 2 in his sworn statement. Toby Lesenby stated that sketch 1 and sketch 2 are in fact two different men, 73. Lesenby deposition page 85, lines 25 or 22 to 25. Page 6, lines 1 through 25, page 87, lines 1 through 25, and page 88, lines 1 through 7. While Richard Allen sits in prison waiting for full disclosure of all evidence in the state's position, the current sheriff and former sheriffs can't keep their stories straight on how many men were involved and whether sketch 1 or sketch 2 represent the same man, Richard Allen, as Holman claims, or two different men, Richard Allen and someone else, as Lesenby claims. Uh, that is a good question. I set my goals, but I want to be real with you guys. I do this because I like it. It got me out of a really dark place. And uh, I don't keep count of my numbers. I mean, I appreciate my numbers. I appreciate all of you. But I've noticed that when creators are kind of, I am at 4661. So I'm a little over halfway there, which is awesome sauce. Also, I do need to get on. So we are going to put it together a desk tonight, and I am going to be moving my comfy chair so that when Mr. Mo does his computer arm twisty magical magic, I should be able to have streams where I can sit on my comfy chair and hang out with you guys. So yeah, that was a roundabout way of saying about 400-ish. Well, I'm sorry, Sub Rosa. I do appreciate, different opinions, but I think sometimes you're going to disagree with, other creators, and that's okay. You know, it's fine. I welcome, debate. I don't want to be an echo chamber, but I have looked at all these documents and I was willing to let the state convince me just from what I've seen. I haven't seen the proof. But what I think, and what everyone on YouTube thinks doesn't matter because the jury is the true finder of facts and they see a lot more than we do. So I'm just contributing stuff that people might not know. I do have a bias. I do think that, Richard Allen is innocent, but that shouldn't stop you from looking at my other content, but I can understand if you really, really disagree. While Holman did not agree that Brad Holder's Facebook hand rune resembles the stick formation found on Abby's body because that promotes Brad Holder as a suspect, at the same time, Holman will tell you that sketch 1 and sketch 2 look alike with only quote unquote minor differences because that promotes Richard Allen as the suspect. As far as Holman is willing to stretch this, how far is Holman willing to stretch this incredible claim? When Holman was asked which resembles each other more, sketch 1 or sketch 2, or the two images found side by side in Exhibit 42, Holman claimed that sketch 1 and sketch 2 looked more alike to each other than the other two images found in Exhibit 42 to look alike to each other. We asked the court the same question and see if you have the same answer as Holman. Please look at sketch 1 and sketch 2. Then looks at side-by-side images on Exhibit 42. Would you claim under oath that sketch 1 and sketch 2 look more alike to each other than two images found on Exhibit 42 look alike to each other? Unhun Hero, thank you for the super chat. And Fire Glory Holman, what a sham. I think that's where my anger really comes from. I want the monster that did this to be found, or monsters. I know that there's an assumption that if are skeptical about Richard Allen being the killer, then you care less about the girls getting justice. That could be that couldn't be farther from the case for me. My heart broke when we found this. My little girls are a couple years younger than them, two tow-headed girls, that like to walk around my neighborhood, and I felt safe letting them go around my neighborhood. And, Abby and Libby's parents felt the same way. They felt like they were in a safe place. And it broke my heart that two little girls passed away all alone, you know, a and to be fair, I did not for the first until Richard Allen was caught, I had no idea how the girls died. I didn't dig into Reddit, I didn't do all of that, I just kind of watched the mainstream media, so I had no idea. And then to learn how horribly, how absolutely terrified and, you know, to have to think that one of the girls had to see her friend die and know that that was going to be her fate. It's heartbreaking. It is soul-wrenching. I have walked on the Delphi path where those little girls, were just a couple 100 yards away, and they were laid to rest, or they were desecrated and laid there. So, while we may disagree, we both want the same thing. We both want justice, and I can understand why you believe Richard Allen's guilty, but at the end of the day, we want these little girls to have justice. We want their families to be found, and God bless it if the state can prove beyond reasonable doubt that he did it, you know, I'll be fine with that. I just I don't see it yet. The fact that Holman, under oath, refuses to admit the obvious truth should provide insight into whether Holman and his fellow Unified Command member, Tony Liggett, acted intentionally in concealing information from Judge Diner. Trooper Purdy and Trooper Winters were aware of an eerie image on Brad Holder's Facebook page of what appeared to be a fake murder scene mimicking Abby and Libby's murder scene. When Trooper Purdy learned from Becky Patty that Brad Holder was an Odinist, at least for a short period of time, he was curious about Brad Holder. This short term curiosity. Thank you, JoJo, for becoming a member of the Church of Mo. Welcome. We have dark chocolate, sarcasm, and gallows humor. We just ask that you never bring one of those plastic hot cross buns recorders anywhere. Those are outlawed, but everything else pretty much goes. So, welcome. Thank you so much for becoming a new member. And if you guys wonder what I do with these tags, I put them in the shadow box. And at the end of the year, I'm going to hang it up in my background and, just to show appreciation for you guys, giving me money or joining membership or things like that, to show I really appreciate it. I think, and I'm not calling anyone out, and I don't, but, sometimes when you're scrolling through everything, you come across these creators that maybe have forgotten that, our channels depend on you guys, and they don't appreciate as much what, every single membership or things. And I understand once you get big, it's hard to write a tag every time, but it's definitely something I intend to keep doing because I really appreciate all of you guys' encouragement, support, and everything you do. Okay, let's see here. This short-term curiosity led Purdy to look onto Brad's Facebook page where Purdy found a very eerie photograph, 74. Purdy discusses how he viewed this image on Brad Holder's Facebook page, Purdy Deposition, page 79, lines 6 through 25, and Deposition, page 8, lines 1 through 11. This photograph is marked as Exhibit 43. It shows two girls lying on what appears to be the ground of a forest. The girls are either not alive or posed as if they were not alive. The girls have tree limbs arranged over their bodies. The girl in the forefront of the photograph has her left arm and hand positioned very similarly to that of Abby's left arm and hand outstretched above her head. The defense has prepared a side by side photograph of the mimicked photograph compared with the crime scene photograph of Libby, which is marked as Exhibit 44 and filed as confidential. Although both girls are dressed, the limbs on the girls are not arranged exactly like the limbs and sticks on Abby and Libby. The similarity of the photo found on Brad Holder's Facebook page is pronounced. Purdy did not think much of the photograph in terms of implicating Brad Holder, At least that's how he's claiming it in 2023. Purdy deposition, page 81 through 25. Purdy talks about the mimicked murder scene as just one piece of a puzzle because its image had been on Brad Holder's Facebook page for as long as 4 or 5 years, and it somewhat depressed the level of Winter's interest in the photograph. Now, to me, and listen, I am not Clarice, Starling, but remember how I said that this murder would have had to have been fantasized about, would have been something that you kind of prevaricated around, fantasized. You built up this fantasy in your mind and you maybe practiced it, you maybe thought it out. Jedi Jess, apparently Indiana is allergic to evidence. It shows planning, it shows preparation, it shows the fantasy world. I mean, you don't go out and commit a murder like this apropos of nothing. Like, one day you just drink a couple of beers is what they're saying Rick Allen did, that, he had been fantasizing about this forever. We If he had, we should see this on Rick Allen's Facebook post. We should see Rick Allen, looking at, covering girls with sticks, girls, not alive. There should be all sorts of things on his, history. And granted, it was 5 years later. So I do, great give grace to the fact that he might have deleted all this. Look, he had 5 years. So I get people that really feel that Richard Allen is guilty. I am just pointing out that there might have been other leads that Unified Command should have clearly marked as, or clearly investigated to put this at ease. However, even before Purdy had found the disturbing image on Brad Holder's Facebook page, a tipster had beat him to the punch by finding it much, much earlier. The contents of a February 16th, 2017 tip were written up in a report designated as DIN C00004876. An unredacted copy of this report is attached and marked as Exhibit 45, filed confidential. This tip came in just 2 days after the girls were found. This tip says the following. Father of Logan Holder, ex-boyfriend of Libby, social media shows him as a member of Vinlanders, post of half-dead women and fantasization of gothic figures and symbols out of tree branches, end quote. I'm done. This report shows that Liggett actually provided or approved further investigation of Brad Holder based upon that tip. This is the same disturbing image that came to the attention of law enforcement a third time by way of the gentleman named Ryan Boucher in Georgia. This tip was received by Trooper Joseph Winters on April 12, 2017, and converted into a report. An unredacted copy of this report is attached and marked as Exhibit 46 and marked as confidential. The defense herein will refer to this as the Winters report. Ryan Boucher also has signed an affidavit detailing his failed attempts to get interest of Carroll County law enforcement concerning the information that Boucher had uncovered on Holder's social media accounts. The affidavit is attached and marked as Exhibit 47. Boucher's affidavit also details other aspects of the case discussed in this memoranda. As the affidavit details, Boucher talked directly to then Sheriff Tony Lesenby about Boucher's findings. This conversation would have occurred sometime before Boucher's April 12, 2017 conversation with Trooper Winters, 77. We have not viewed any report in which Lesenby memorializes this conversation with Boucher, although it theoretically might be found in the state of Indiana's most recent September 8, 2023 evidence drop. Lesenby told Boucher that Holder was not a suspect and quickly dispensed of the phone call as detailed in Boucher's affidavit. Despite Lesenby's comments, essentially telling Boucher that Holder had been eliminated as a suspect, Boucher was undeterred. Boucher felt that something was off and he called the state police post. As detailed in the Winters report, once Boucher provided his ID, Boucher then provided Winters, quote, pictures from Holder's media account depicting tree limbs on the ground displaying runes, consistent with the Odin belief system, end quote. Winters report, page 2. Then Winters wrote in the report, quote, provided media pictures shows unknown girls believed to be deceased with sticks placed over their bodies. The sticks across the female on Holder's media are believed to be symbols or runes, end quote. Winters report, page 2, emphasis added. It should be noted that law enforcement has, to this day, still failed to turn over this mimicked murder photograph found on Holder's Facebook page, i.e., Exhibit 43. Fortunately, defense counsel was able to find Winter's report in the sea of evidence and upon reading it understood the potential importance that this photograph may have in terms of Holder's culpabilities in the murder. The only problem is that law enforcement had failed to produce it for the defense. Fortunately, through due diligence, the defense team located Boucher, drove to Georgia, met with Boucher, who was willing to provide images to Richard's defense team, and did in fact turn over those to Richard Allen's defense team. Now, I have a question, Jedi Jess. Would that be considered a Brady violation if the state had this and they had to haul ass to Georgia to get this stuff? I don't know. Okay, I need to buy some new clothes. I am, uh, I got, you know how when you like lose weight and you still buy the same size of clothes because you still feel that size? I'm having that issue here lately. I mean, I haven't deflated like greatly, but still. The problem is, here's the rub, and Jedi Jess, I think you know this. If you're gonna take the Brady violation, it's gonna go directly to Judge Gold, who's gonna say, "Of course it's not a Brady violation." Even as recently as his August 23rd, 2023 deposition, Winters stated that he was still unable to locate the images referenced in the Winters report that Boucher provided to Winters back on April 12th, 2017. Winters deposition, page 29, lines 20 through 25. Okay, for the love of Cheetos. So we have Holman who can't find a professor in Purdue, like there's 100 million professors studying Nordic, myths, fables, and religion. I'm sure it would be easy to find. And on a cliff note, or on a, kind of they found the professor. It was a Christmas miracle. And they re-deposed him, and the defense deposed him, and he said, "No, this looks exactly like Odinism." It does there was not any, incongruity, inconclusiveness. He said, "No, this kinda looks like Odinism." At least to my recollection, again, it is a high pain day, so I may be a little off. I mean, this is at a level that even Canton officers would be like, "Y'all, this looks bad." This means that if the defense team had not traveled to Georgia, the defense, would still not be in possession of this exculpatory piece of evidence and also would not have been able to ask questions at depositions to law enforcement officers concerning those images. To this very day, the state of Indiana has yet to turn over the images that Boucher provided Winters back in 2017. Following his interaction with Boucher, as can be read in Winters' report, it was apparent that Trooper Winters' interest was piqued. Details surrounding the September 14th, 2017 crime scene were well guarded and hidden from the public. Yet somehow Brad Holder, an Odinite whose son dated Abby Williams, had an image on his Facebook page that closely resembled the crime scene. Two, appeared to have used an ink pen to draw a rune on his hand that mimicked the very rune that was found on Abby. Both images are described in Winters' reports. So what did Winters do once he realized it appeared that Abby's boyfriend's dad, Brad Holder, appeared to know intimate details about the crime scene, kept confidential from the public? He spoke with Jerry Holman's Winters report, page 2. The information that Winters unearthed via Ryan Boucher was so impactful on Winters that Winters, remembers talking with Jerry Holman of Unified Command. 79. Winters deposition page 20 or 44 lines 19 through 25 and page 45 lines 1 through 25 and page 46 lines 1 through 15. Winters even recorded the following in his report, quote, I spoke with First Sergeant Holman on April 12, 2017. First Sergeant Holman advised that the FBI had interviewed Holder shortly at the beginning of the investigation. Again, those interrogations, those interviews by the FBI, we have no recording of them. The recording has been lost. It's been, it was taped over. It was a billion terabytes they lost. But oddly enough, it includes, these two guys. And the state tried to say that there was a memoranda of, what happened on the videotaped recordings, but that doesn't work. And then they kicked the FBI off the case. In his deposition, Winters provided his reasoning, quote, yeah, I think there's some substantial things that need to follow up on, end quote, 80. Winters deposition, page 48, lines 10 and 11. Winters also said that he, quote, wanted to make sure that all the information I had captured in my time from that was passed on because I knew I had just taken that information and I just wanted to make sure if I had no contact with anyone involved in this case again, that they were aware that I generated this supplement. 81. Winters deposition, page 48, lines 16 through 22. Winters felt that the Boucher tip was important. He felt it was so important that he wanted to make sure someone followed up on the lead by, at minimum, re-interviewing Brad Holder. 82. Winters report, page 2. Winters deposition, page 50, lines 1 through 10. Again, it should be noted as of September 11, 2023, the defense has still not received the February 17, 2017 interview of Holder. Even the state of Indiana's most recent discovery dump, which occurred on September 8, 2023, did not contain Holder's February 17, 2017 interview. However, on September 8, 2023, Rick's defense team learned something very interesting. On or about September 4, 2023, Trooper Holman finally followed up on Winters' request by finally re-interviewing Holder. It only took 5+ years. The defense has still not received Holder's first interview from February 17, 2017. We'll see how long it takes for the state to turn over Holder's second interview from September 4th, 2023. Yeah, don't hold your breath on that. And oh, the shade. I mean, I'm pretty sure they knew that Goal was going to nix this or nip it in the bud. So they realized that this would become public. I think there was some strategery here. I think that, you know, looking at it objectively, I think this defense knows that it has an uphill climb with Judge Goal. And they probably realized that this was not going to fly. But they did realize that due to Freedom of Information Acts and, public sunshine laws and things like that, that this was going to come out and people could read it for themselves. And you don't have to take everything that the defense says as, gold, even though they're pulling most of it from the, discovery from the state. But this way we have access to something. We understand and we can see the absolute foobarness of this, investigation. If Holman did in fact re-interview Holder on September 4th, 2023, it should be noted that the interview came on the heels of the defense team's contentious August 10th, 2023 deposition of Holman. The defense asked Holman, quote, are you going to fix these problems or are you going to actually look for the truth? End quote. 83. Holman deposition, page 273, lines 16 through 18. His response, quote, I'm going to look for the truth, but I think I've already found the truth. But I'll definitely look into this, no doubt about it. And if I find out we have done the follow-ups I didn't know about, I will let Prosecutor McClellan know and he can forward that information to you. End quote. 84. Holman deposition, page 273, lines 18 through 25. The defense looks forward to watching the first Holder interview from February 2017, as well as the most recent Holder interview to see if Holman treated Holder as an actual suspect, a label befitting the strong evidence that connects him to the murders, or if Holman's interview consists of softball questions lobbed at Holder with the purpose of fending off the defense rather than seeking the truth. Well, we will never see the first interview because it's been, recorded over and no one can figure out how to get it. Brad Holder created a creepy painting of a man believed to be Odin hanging upside down from a tree with his legs posed to similar to Abby's at the crime scene. This painting also contains two hidden Easter eggs, including a rune or a red F rune at the base of the tree, just like the red F rune painted on the tree at the crime scene. Previously, the defense marked exhibits 32 and 33. These are creepy images of the painting that Brad Holder created on February 2018. So, a year after the crime, he decides to paint a creepy Odin picture with a person posed in a similar way to Abby with a, blood rune on the tree. Nope, nothing to see here. Not one thing to see here. This is totally not sus. The first Easter egg is another example showcasing Holder's knowledge of the hush hush crime scene, guarded from the general public. You will notice at the base of the tree is a rune painted blood red. The rune looks like the letter F, just like the letter F rune at the crime scene painted onto the tree using Libby's blood. The other Easter egg is the date that Brad Holder placed on the painting in the lower right-hand corner of the painting. You will see that it looks like 217, then some gibberish. It looks therefore like a month, February, and a year, 2017. Abby and Libby were slain in February 2017. Upon closer inspection, it appears that the date in the corner may be 2/17/18. If so, this painting was drawn 1 year to the day that Brad Holder was interviewed by the police and essentially dropped as as a suspect, sorry. Is this just a fluke that Holder painted a red F at the base of a tree almost 1 year to the day the girls were slain when the crime scene was a guarded secret? Is it just a fluke that the date in the right-hand corner of this eerie painting shows 2/17? Unified Command would probably say, quote, yes, it's just a coincidence, end quote. In 2016, Brad Holder video from his Facebook page shows a pagan ritual, with most important part being at the very end. A man that looks like Patrick Westfall appears to be using his fingers to quote unquote paint a tree. Libby's blood was found on one of the trees at the crime scene in the form of an F that someone painted on the tree using their fingers or some type of utensil. On December 12, 2018, Tony Liggett received an email from law enforcement officer Greg Ferenczi. It's a very informative email concerning Brad Holder's supposed alibi and the investigation into whether Holder dumped his old phone and received a new phone number. Also, whether Holder sold his vehicle after, for the love of Christ. And I mean that as a prayer. Do you all remember, if you have been in this case, that first press conference? If someone changes their hair, if someone sells their car, if someone buys a new car, if someone acts weird on the anniversary, what in the hell? He sold his damn car. He probably got a new phone. What the hell is going on here? I am so irritated. I forgot how irritated I got reading this memo because, look, they'd have to do a lot of work to prove that Brad Holder and all of these guys who are presumed innocent until proven guilty have, have any sort of conclusion or go in front of a grand jury. But I remember distinctly that police officer, that state police officer who was supposed to be in charge, looking directly into the camera and saying, if you know someone, if they change their appearance, if they change their cars, if they change their phone, if they act weird, you know, call us. And welcome Megan Raid. Was she driving a truck today or were we having hair day? I can never remember. Let's see. Attached is a copy of the email marked as Exhibit 48. The very last paragraph discusses a ceremony that Holder videotaped in Fort Wayne in 2016. Forensi left a Facebook link so Liggett could watch the ceremony. This video did not get turned over to the defense until the defense made a specific request for the video sometime in August 2023. 85. The defense has made a copy of this 2016 video of the Odinism ceremony filmed by Brad Holder and marked that copy as Exhibit 49. The defense is providing that video as well as other exhibits referenced in this memoranda directly into the judge's staff in Allen County Courthouse. Welcome, Megan Raiders. Happy MAGA rally thingamabob that you just came from. Welcome, welcome. I'm in a ranty mood because this investigation, in my opinion, was FUBAR from the effing beginning. At the beginning of the video, Brad Holder is revealed as the person videotaping the ceremony. During the last few minutes of the video, when the presumed Odinites are dumping water at the base of a tree, you see a man that appears to be Patrick Westfall enter the scene. Once he is at the tree, you can see this person use his hand to what looks like mark the tree. Unfortunately, the viewer cannot see what word, letter, or symbol, if any, this person, presumably Westfall, is marking the tree. The mark appears to appear at the similar height from the base of the tree as the marking of Libby's blood in the crime scene photos. Forensi sent a link of this video directly to Liggett. This video seems to show Westfall marking a tree in a similar manner to which the F was marked with Libby's blood at the crime scene. Even Forensi commented on Westfall marking the tree in the email, yet Liggett either intentionally or recklessly disregarded this evidence, potentially linking both Holder and Westfall to the crime scene. F rune formed with sticks on the ground resembles F rune found on the tree in Libby's blood. Attached to the memoranda is a photo provided to the defense in discovery by from Brad Holder's Facebook page. The photo shows an F that Holder made from sticks from trees. This image is marked as Exhibit 50. The defense took that image and placed it side by side with the F made from Libby's blood at the crime scene and marked that side by side photograph as Exhibit 51. Again, these exhibits display yet another example of Holder posting Facebook images that mimic the formation or information of the crime scene unavailable to the public in two ways. 1. Sticks are used like runes on the girls, and 2, the F rune is used, and the F rune is used and painted on the tree. Meme that Brad Holder posted on 2/17/17, 3 days after the girls were found murdered, which discussed how, quote, real friends help you move dead bodies, and then the friends will keep their mouths shut. This meme was deleted at some point in time, but still recovered by law enforcement. Oh, Tammy, no problem. Your mental health, being able to have a peaceful day or not get into a bad headspace is so much more important than a view. Go take care of yourself, listen to some or watch some puppy videos. Again, you're the only one that can guard your mental health. In Exhibit 52 is the meme that investigators found had been erased from Brad Holder's Facebook page. This image was obtained through discovery. The meme shows a still shot from the scene from the movie Goodfellas, in which the main characters are moving a dead body from one place to another. Billy Bat's dead body had been in one location but was later moved. The meme says, quote, your real ones don't judge or ask a bunch of questions. Images of Goodfellas moving a body. They help you move the body and never speak of it again. So 3 days earlier, Brad's son's girlfriend was found murdered. The girls' bodies were moved at the crime scene from one location where they were unalived to a different location at the crime scene where they were found on February 14th, 2017. Quote, they, friends, help you move a body and never speak of it again, end quote. Toby Lazenby and Tony Liggett in private know that it took many men to accomplish all the tasks needed for that crime scene to exist the way it existed when the bodies were found. The timing is certainly curious. For a man who should have been mourning the brutal death of his son's girlfriend, a meme about moving dead bodies would create curiosity with law enforcement, especially when considering all the other evidence that links Holder to the crime scene. Why did Holder erase this meme? Was this meme a quick shout out to Brad Holder's Odinite buddies, thanking them for helping him with the bodies? Did this meme reveal brazenness and overconfidence that Holder had concerning the belief that he would get away with the murders? These are questions that could have been posed to Holder in aggressive interrogation. However, for Liggett and the rest of Unified Command, the meme was just, quote, nothing to see here. 2 a.m. Facebook page 12 hours after the girls go missing that says his testosterone is through the roof. This post was later deleted as well. Although Brad Holder told the police that he went from work straight to the gym to work out in Logansport in the afternoon, here is Brad Holder at 2 a.m. 86. 86. In the most recent dump of evidence, the defense believes that some evidence may exist in which law enforcement attempted to verify whether Holder even went to the gym. Due to the desire to file the Franks motion and memoranda, the defense has not had an opportunity to review that evidence if it exists. So, Brad Holder at 2 a.m. purportedly at a fitness center proclaiming that his energy and testosterone are through the roof now. Find attached that Facebook post marked as Exhibit 53. Why was his testosterone so high? Why was his energy level so high? Why did he claim to go to the gym at 2 a.m. when he also claimed he had been to the gym just a few hours earlier? Why was he at the gym when he was supposed to be at work in a couple hours? Why did he go to work the next day? Why did he delete this Facebook post? Why would he be saying things like this when his son's, purportedly upset about his girlfriend being missing as the girls had not been found when Holder posted this message to Facebook? Law enforcement officers, to our knowledge, never asked these questions in an aggressive interrogation of Holder, 87. The defense can't be sure what was asked of Holder at either his February 17, 2017 interview or his September 4th, 2023 interview, as law enforcement have failed to provide that to the defense, at least at the time of filing this memoranda. Although on the September 11th, 2023, the prosecution informed the defense that yet another round of additional evidence was waiting for pickup. Defense should be picking up the new discovery on September 18th, 2023. Perhaps these videos will be found in the latest round of discovery over 9 months after the defense entered their appearance. Yeah, they're not slow rolling the discovery at all. Perhaps they did at the recent September 4th, 2023 interview. We shall see. In Greg Ferenczi's December 12th, 2018 email to Tony Liggett, Ferenczi had a few questions about Holder's deleted email. This includes questioning whether Holder's alibi about going to the gym should be further considered. Holder's purported alibi is discussed in a later section. Brad Holder's Facebook page links him to Elvis Fields in Rushville, Indiana. Elvis has admitted to participating in the murders and now being part of a gang, even providing intimate details of the crime scene that only those participating in the murder would know. Elvis followed Brad Holder on Facebook and even recreated Brad Holder's Facebook pages like a fanboy. It makes sense near the finishing of this section detailing some of the evidence that links Brad Holder to the murders by supplying the court with certain Facebook posts by Brad Holder that were mimicked and even recreated by a man named Elvis Fields. This will allow for a smooth transition into the next suspect on whom this memo will be focused, Elvis Fields. Who is Elvis Fields? This man that is mimicking Brad Holder's Facebook post from 126 miles away. You will soon learn that he is a man that has admitted to both of his sisters that he was involved in the murders. A man who told his sister that because of his involvement, he was now part of a quote unquote gang and had a brother. A man who, after providing his DNA, asked the police that if he could explain why his spit might be on one of the girls, would he be in trouble? Then admitted to his sister that he did in fact spit on one of the girls, and perhaps the most incriminating, a man who provided intimate details about the crime scene, the type of detail that only those at the crime scene would know. Upon closer inspection, you will learn that Brad Holder and Elvis Fields did in fact have a common connection, Johnny Messer, but that Elvis lied to police claiming he, Elvis, did not know Johnny Messer, 88. Elvis videotaped 1818 interview at the 1520 mark attached as Exhibit 54. The state of Indiana finally provided this videotaped interview to the defense on September 8th, 2023. Evidence provided by law enforcement shows that Elvis Fields lived in Rushville, 125 plus miles away from Delphi. Additionally, Elvis, at first glance, seemingly had no connection to Delphi or Logansport. However, once law enforcement officers Greg Ferenczi and Kevin Murphy learned that Elvis had confessed to his sisters, especially after Elvis posed a bizarre question to Murphy, these curious law enforcement officers wanted to look at Elvis's Facebook page and ultimately compared it to Brad Holder's Facebook page. What they found was extremely telling. Elvis was obviously following Brad Holder on Facebook, as evidenced by the multiple posts that Elvis mimicked of Holder's. Elvis Fields was not only following Brad Holder's Facebook page, he was also emulating Brad Holder by recreating Brad Holder's Facebook posts in the year leading up to Abby and Libby's murder. The defense is attaching a series of 9 side by side photographs created by law enforcement. On the left side of each exhibit is a photo that Brad Holder posted on his Facebook page. On the right side of each exhibit is a photo that Elvis Fields posted on his Facebook page, in which Elvis took the time to actually recreate the photograph that Holder posted. They are marked as exhibits 55 through 63, highlighting just a few of those side by side photographs. Exhibit 55 shows Brad Holder posted an image of brass knuckles surrounded by other weapons, force multipliers. Next, Elvis Fields mimicked the post, creating the photo featuring brass knuckles surrounded by knives. Exhibit 56 shows that Brad Holder posted an image of Holder placing a single arrowhead in his hand next to Elvis Fields' mimicked photo, creating or putting a single arrowhead in his hand. Exhibit 57 shows that Brad Holder posted an image of 2 arrowheads near each other next to Elvis's mimicked post, creating a photo of 2 arrowheads next to each other. Exhibit 58 shows that Brad Holder posted a photograph of a single clear mason jar next to Elvis's mimicked post, created a photo of a single clear mason jar. 89. Unfortunately, law enforcement failed to date the attached exhibits. Way to go, Unified Command. You're doing awesome here. This mimicking is certainly curious, especially when Brad Holder's son dated Abby Williams when Elvis Fields was 125 miles away, confessed to both of his sisters on 2 different occasions that he was involved in the murders. This confession included telling one sister that Abby Williams was a troublemaker, and that's why he, Elvis, used sticks to form horns on Abby's head. What a, if true, sir, straight to Snake Island. 90. The defense will be providing the context for these statements, including the photographs from the crime scene that support Elvis's statement, and admitting to another sister that he was in big trouble and going away for a while because he was present when the girls were murdered and he spit on the girls. 91. On October 24th, 2017, Elvis told his sister, Joyce Moffett, that, quote, "I'm in trouble. I'm going away for a long time. I was on that trail and that bridge with those girls when they were murdered. There were 2 other people there with me when it happened. I spit on one of the girls after they were killed." Supplement number 542, quote, Joyce Moffett interview, end quote, attached and marked as Exhibit 64. So they had 2 confessions. Aren't confessions all important? Don't we listen to confessions? You had 2 of them. You had 2 fucking confessions. Excuse my French. But if we're going to go on and on about confessions and Richard Allen doing it, you had 2 daggone confessions from Elvis Fields to 2 different people. And they weren't psychotic and left in solitary confinement for 13 months. What are the odds that Brad Holder's son is dating Abby Williams? And 125 miles away, a fanboy of Brad Holder named Elvis Fields is mimicking Brad Holder's Facebook post, and that fanboy admitted to being involved in the murder of the girls. For Liggett and Holman, apparently this coincidence is nothing important. Moreover, Trooper Roland Purdy refused to concede that Elvis mimicked and recreated Facebook post proved any connection between Holders and Fields. Trooper Purdy explained that mimicked and recreated photos between Brad Holder and Elvis Fields might just be a coinkydink. Canton, I have to apologize. Your police force is actually better than ours, and yours uses red Solo cups to collect evidence. I never thought I'd say this, but Canton, you have a police force that's worse than you. Congratulations. You win second place prize at being utter fuck ups. Hope that works for you. And again, sorry for my language. This just really ticks me off. It ticks me off so much because we could have had answers. Again, these men are innocent right now, but if they had looked into this, even if it turned out to be, a fool's errand, we could have at least actually eliminated these people. This is ridiculous. Liggett failed to inform Judge Diner of the evidence supporting Brad Holder's involvement uh, in the murders before moving on to the evidence that supports Elvis Fields' involvement in the murders. The defense finishes the Brad Holder section by 1, discussing Holder's purported alibi, 2, showing evidentiary linkage between Holder and Fields that support that Holder lured Elvis into involvements in the murder in order to join him, Holder, and Holder's gang. 3, the circumstances surrounding Unified Command dropping the ball by intentionally or recklessly clearing Holder as a witness within weeks of the murder. Holder's alibi was not scrutinized, and evidence supports that Holder recruited a mentally infirm Elvis Fields to assist in the abduction and murders, while Holder tried to stand behind in a shady alibi. Holder's alibi was not even close to fully vetted. However, whenever Holder's name was brought up as a suspect, one reason that kept popping up as to why Holder was cleared as a suspect was his purported alibi. An unclassified FBI report revealed the work or lack of work that law enforcement performed to check out Holder's alibi. That document is marked as Exhibit 65. This report was prepared on April 13th, 2017. In this report, Pulaski Sheriff Deputy Frederick Rogers, quote, followed up with Liberty Landfill in an attempt to verify the employment and work schedule of Bradley Holder. Suzanne Case from Human Resources stated that Holder's time card showed that Holder, clocked in at 4:55 a.m. and clocked out at 2:45 p.m. Chase also said she would be the only person who could change or manipulate the electronic time card. Chase further admitted that there was a security camera on site. Here's how Deputy Rogers memorialized that part of their conversation. Case advised Brad drives a junky red truck to work with a G on the front bumper. Case advised the security camera at the scales may have picked up his vehicle coming and going on that day. Case advised that Holder stays on the property for his lunch break. The short report concludes with Case provided the officer a copy of the timesheet for the week showing Brad indeed had clocked in and out on February 13th, and he was still on or at work on today's date, 93. If Holder was at work the day the deputy showed up to vet Holder's alibi, it would have been a great time to interview Holder and those around him to better determine if Holder was at work on Monday, February 13th, 2017. Here's what we don't know about Holder's alibi at work. 1. Did someone clock in for Holder? There is nothing that Chase said about clocking in process that would prevent someone else from clocking in for Holder. Whether Holder was actually at work on February 13th, 2017 could have been better vetted by simply talking to Holder's workmates that would have been on the work site on February 13th, 2017 to determine if they remember Holder being present on work on the 13th. 2. Did someone clock out for Holder? The same logic applies to this question. Perhaps Holder clocked in but then left early and asked one of his work buddies to clock out for him. It is unknown whether Odinites worked alongside Holder at the landfill, as it appears that Deputy Roger also did very little investigative work on this very important topic of Holder's alibi. Nor did anyone at Unified Command provide instructions for law enforcement to fully investigate every aspect of Holder's alibi. Let's see here. Nor did anyone at Unified Command provide instructions for law enforcement to fully investigate every aspect of Holder's alibi. 3. Did Chase actually watch the video? The report is so poorly written that it can't be determined whether Holder's distinctive vehicle could be seen on video or whether Chase was merely claiming that, quote, hey, if you want to watch the video from the camera placed near the scales, it may go show Holder's truck coming and going. 4. Did anyone in law enforcement watch the video alluded to by Chase? And if so, what did they see? It is quite maddening that the report refers to the possibility that the simple review of a video could determine whether Holder's junky red truck with a G on the front bumper was seen coming and going on February 13th. However, the fact that this report doesn't inform anyone of whether law enforcement ever viewed this video, it would be presumed that if Deputy did watch the video, he would have memorialized it. 5. Even if Holder's truck was viewed on the video, was Holder the person driving the truck as it arrived to the work site? Perhaps the video would have been able to show an image of the person driving the truck and whether it was Holder. Even if Holder's truck was in view on the video, was Holder the person driving the truck as he left the work site? In the event that Holder wanted to appear showing up for work but then left early in someone else's vehicle who picked Holder up at the site to get to Delphi in the early afternoon, it would be important to know who was driving the truck when it left the property. It is only 24.3 miles or 32 miles from Buffalo, Indiana to Delphi, Indiana. 94. This distance and time was arrived at by a simple Google search of distance between Buffalo, Indiana and Delphi, Indiana. I love how there's like, we Googled it. Even if Brad Holder actually clocked out at 2:45 p.m., he could have been in Delphi before 3:15 p.m. If Holder left at noon and had a buddy of his clock him out, so this is where it goes into kind of hypothetical. Obviously, I don't think they have that video still, but these are things that they should have looked at, should have taken care of, and things like that. I'm going to finish up this page, and then I do have to get ready to go get the feral boys. I appreciate you guys being here. I know this is not a good topic or a good case. You know, it is a tragic case. Two little girls lost their futures, and families lost their daughters, their granddaughters, their people lost their friends. You know, it's a terrible case. And we don't have to agree on all cases. But, you know, being respectful, we're going to see things with different perspectives. That's why I love LawTube, because I get so many different perspectives that I wouldn't think about. I am simply sharing information here. Not everyone has read the Franks motion. I know people saw a lot of highlights and sort of snippets on the mainstream media, but I figured, you know, people might be interested in, you know, at least, you know, entertaining the idea that there's something here with this. I'm not here to change your mind. If you believe Richard Allen is guilty, that is quite okay. I have a bunch of questions, and that's quite okay. We can just be respectful to each other. And I got the wine, you know, advent calendar. I mean, this has been a good day. So I hope you all have a good evening. I will not be doing nightly newsy news as it is Wednesday date night, but I will see you bright and early in the morning. And we might switch it up tomorrow to give my voice a rest because we are at page 75 of 300, or not 300, 136. So this is a lot of reading still left. So we will continue this, but I might switch it up tomorrow to see if there is anything else wacky out there, or do Mo, you know, Mo is better than Reddit, her advice for all crazy situations. Give us a little breather, a little bit of a palate cleanser, and, you know, just have fun with some stuff. So have a lovely day. I will see you tomorrow. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but always carry a fully loaded can of bitchfire because kindness does not equal doormat. I'll see you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Oh, there's my alarm. Sorry, you guys. Hope I didn't shock anyone. That always startles me. Sorry about that. Bye, you guys.